Welcome to Between Two Chairs, Demystifying Commercial Real Estate, the podcast that brings you the latest insights and trends on the South Florida commercial real estate market, with your hosts, Fernando Arencibia Jr. and Jennifer Woolman. In each episode, we dive into the world of commercial real estate and break down complex concepts to make them accessible for everyone. Whether you're a real estate professional, a curious investor, or just interested in the South Florida market in general, Between Two Chairs is the podcast for you. So pull up a chair and join us.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Between Two Chairs. My name is Fernando Arencibia Jr., and with me, as always, is the very financially literate Jennifer Woolman. I thought I was going to get stuck in the word literate, and then the financially didn't come out. But it's just, I think it's very, very suitable for today's special guest and for our episode. So, Jennifer, without further ado, would you please introduce our special guest?
Sure. I'm super excited today. We have Chris Sierra, CPA, joining us. And whether you are a beginning real estate broker thinking about real estate brokerage or an old timer thinking about retirement, I can guarantee you that Chris is going to give you a ton of information on how to best set up your business so that you can retire. There are options. You can build a business and sell your business, or you can invest in what you know, which is real estate. So thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. I've learned so much from your conversations with the group at Avanti Way and all of the help that you've given our brokers. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and a privilege. I will say, when I saw Between Two Chairs, I said, as long as I don't inadvertently end up on between two ferns to get made fun of, I'm good to go. So,
it's an homage.
A pleasure. I mean, if you guys want to poke fun, I am game for it. So I have my son's Legos here, so
I love
have at it.
So before we get started on things that you've seen and that you recommend, why don't you give us some of your background, where you grew up, where you're from, what you like to do when you're not diving into numbers?
Sure. People sometimes ask me, how long have you been in real estate? And my response is typically the womb. My parents have been in real estate their entire lives. My mom used to work for, and I'm going to date myself, Barnett Bank. I remember going to her office at Barnett Bank on Flagler, right off the expressway before it was now Bank of America. That's always flooded, apparently. And I was born, not there, but, that was the era that I was born into. My parents have been in real estate. Pretty much my dad has been in Countrywide. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah,
for sure.
But my dad worked for Countrywide for many years. And I have grown up around real estate. I've done flips with my parents in the past. I've been working with Avanti Way now since, 2014, 2015. And I'm born and raised here in Miami. Beautiful family. I like to think so. Wife and two kids, 9 and 11, Andy and Sophia. And when I'm not doing accounting, I'm either volunteering at church. I oversee the kids ministry there, which is a ton of fun. Or you'll find me at the gym, or you'll find me, you can see my bike. You'll find me on the road trying to hit 25, 30 miles an hour and not kill myself. So that's me in a nutshell. Been a CPA now since 2013. I've been in accounting since 2009. And a lot of my business has been built off of real estate, not necessarily real estate I own, but advising clients in the real estate arena. So again, a joy to be here. And I've seen plenty of crazy things in the real estate world, plenty of crazy ideas. I've been in meetings where I'm like, that's not going to work. I've been in meetings where, wow, why didn't I think of that? And all in real estate. And I've been in meetings. The best ones I'm in are with Enrique, because Enrique is like, I don't know, man. He's like, I think he sleeps and dreams about real estate things and tax strategies and account. Like he's He'll call me at 10 o'clock at night. Hey, bro, what do you think of this? I'm like, dude, it's 10, man. Like,
I'm not thinking.
well, I am not. That's the problem. I don't think at this hour. So,
well, thanks so much for that intro. I love it because you're a CPA, so I think conservative, but you're obviously a risk taker because anybody who rides their bike at any speed in Miami-Dade County is definitely a big risk taker. It's more dangerous riding a bike here than it is in New York, so that's great.
yeah, haven't been hit yet. I have a bright orange helmet. My wife's like, that is a ridiculous helmet. I'm like, that is so that no one hits me. So, but yeah, again, fun to be here. So, I mean, as far as real estate goes, I think, and this is like a general issue that I see just generally in real estate. A lot of people are very short-sighted, and people typically miss the fact that when you're investing in real estate, when you're doing anything in real estate, you can never play the short game. Though you're in golf, your short game has to be exceptional. In real estate, your short game, sometimes it has to be good, but you really need to think long term. And that's not just in real estate, investing in it. I also think, because you alluded to it earlier, realtors, real estate professionals or brokers that are in the realm, they're always thinking about the next deal. But retirement is a part of life. And so both as an investor and as a professional in the realm, I think that long-term outlook is often overlooked. And that is because people are only thinking about that next commission, that next deal, maintaining the current pipeline. And when I say future, I'm not saying line up deals from here for the next 3 years. When I say future, I mean line it up so one day you're not dependent on the next deal, right? And I think that people miss that because they focus so much on the thing that's right in front of them because they can touch, feel, and see it. And I mean, that happens in anything, right? You go to the gym, you work out, but then you see that beautiful piece of Hershey pie sitting in front of you, and you're not thinking about what you'll look like a year from now. You're thinking about how good that thing's going to taste. And the same is true in real estate. A lot of times people see a deal and they think about how much they can make on a flip, and they don't realize that if it cash flows well enough long-term plus appreciation and value, that's really where the bang for the buck is, and people miss out and they leave early. Same thing with stocks. People, they freak when everything drops, let's sell. No, let's buy when everything's low because now, dollar cost averaging. So just in general, that short versus long-term outlook, I think is a humongous, there's a disparity between where people spend most of their time. They think so much short-term and they miss out. And real estate, you ask anybody that's in real estate, the winners are the ones that stuck around for a long time and set themselves up for the future.
So I love that. A couple of things. The fact that you have a real estate background, anyone who's listened to this podcast long enough knows that the biggest mistakes that I made were I had CPAs that were amazing CPAs, but they knew nothing about real estate. So we weren't speaking the same language, and I missed a lot of opportunities and did a lot of things kind of the wrong way, which is why we're bringing you Chris today. Another thing is that we got a call from a really good friend of ours, Gus Fonte, who had attended a friend's retirement. This person was extremely advanced in age and basically had to continue working, which if you want to continue working until you're 99, great. But if you don't, then you need to have something set up. And I think the fact that Chris is so tuned in to not only real estate, but our local markets, the tax laws, the tax loopholes, et cetera, that he's going to bring us invaluable information. So there are a couple of different ways, right, that somebody can, in the real estate business, can retire, right? You can build your business and sell your business. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And then also the investing and other things that you have seen and learned as other strategies for people to be able to retire and have a nest egg, or if they don't want to retire, to be able to build a legacy that they can either sell or pass on to the next generation.
So I love that little story you shared. There's a gentleman that I know, he's a realtor and he also works at a bank, and he's 87. And every time I speak with him, I'm like, you're crazy. What are you? He's like, well, I mean, what else am I going to do? I don't want to not move. Right. So and I get it. But to have that freedom to be able to give back or to travel or whatever it is, I think is vital. And now I'm blanking. I'm like, wait, the question. What was I just went on a little rabbit hole. I was like, wait, the question. Can you repeat the question? Because this mind isn't what it used to be.
That's okay. I chase squirrels all the time. So it was basically how, the different ways that a broker can set up retirement, either by building a book of business and selling their business, or investing in real estate, or both.
So generally speaking, if you're a broker and you're trying to build up a business to one day sell, one of the biggest things you can do to set yourself up for success is not make the business so dependent on you. That is one of, first off, from a valuation perspective, any business that you're going to sell, and this is standard valuation, but this is not even just real estate, this is generally speaking. And I'm learning this myself as a CPA who is the man behind the firm, and everything is highly dependent on me, is the more dependent your business is on you, the less valuable it is. It's only valuable to you, but anybody else that picks it up and starts to run with it, if they're not you, it's not going to do well. And so one of the things that oftentimes people miss when you're building a business is making sure that a business you eventually want to sell, is you need to build it in such a way so as it's not dependent on you 100%. You bring value in who you are. You've got client contacts, but you want to build it up in such a way so that after a transition period of 1-2 years, the business can continue. Else, no one's going to want to buy it. So for a broker, that means setting up a good team. That means having a good system in place. That means think turnkey. When you walk into a house, is this ready to move in? I don't know. Is there furniture in there? Do I have to bring my own furniture? Do I have to redo the windows? I mean, think of it in those terms. In the same way as a broker, if your goal is to eventually sell your business or spin it off or whatever it is, you want to set it up in a way that it's not dependent on you. And I think one of the biggest things people are missing today, which I love about Avanti, is taking advantage of AI. A quote that Enrique Terán said, I'll never forget it. He said, "You're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by someone who is using AI in your industry." And the same is true as a broker. You're not going to be undone by AI. If you're not taking advantage of that resource, your competitors are going to beat you if they're using it and you're not. And so it's a great way to make the business less and less dependent on you. But if you're a broker that wants to one day retire in a different way, maybe not necessarily sell the business, but let's say you want to pass it on to an heir, which is a great plan too. Retirement is a key aspect. Investing both in real estate and in a retirement plan, a 401k, a self-directed IRA, a SEP IRA. I mean, a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, a 403b. There's a lot of different things you can invest in. Whatever avenue you ultimately take, again, it goes back to the same thing, right? I've got a buck in my hand today. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to spend it today because it's in front of me? Or am I going to place it in reserve for the future so that 10 years, 20 years from now, that dollar is $200. And so that's where, as a business owner, not just a broker in the real estate, but as a business owner. And again, this is really hard. Last I checked my crystal ball, it ran out of magic. It doesn't tell me the future. It's just not working anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but it never worked to begin with. Let's be real. It's impossible to know what the future is going to be. But like I tell realtors, you don't know if you're going to make $500 or $500,000 in commission. But don't bet against yourself and set yourself up in a way where, I'm probably not going to make much, so it's not worth having a business structure. No, that's the terrible mindset to go in thinking you're going to blow it out of the water and set yourself up for success. As a broker, in the same way, you may not know if you're going to sell or if you're going to spin off or whatever it is. Set yourself up where the business is not so dependent on you that it's only valuable to you. You want it to be valuable to anyone who comes along and says, "Hey, I'll give you $5 million for that thing." Yeah, here it is, turnkey. You don't want someone to say, "Hey, I'll give you $1.5 million because it's dependent on you, and I need you to stick around for 3 years." No, that's not. No, I don't want to be around for 3 years. I want to enjoy that $1.5 million you gave me. And so, a key thing there, when you're building your business, make sure that you're building it in a way where it's not so dependent on you that someone can't step in and take over, and you move on to another project or sail off into the sunset and retire.
Great points. And in terms of, we did this wealth building analysis or webinar, I should say, that you were part of at Avanti. That was super, super informative because, to your point, an agent starting out, they might be bidding against themselves. They might not be knowing where to start. So the best thing, I think, would be like if they put money aside for transactions and taxes and everything from their transactions, into, taxes and investment vehicles and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about what that setup looks like? Because a lot of agents aren't used to being 1099s. So how those buckets of money differ from like a W-2 employee?
Sure. Well, first off, we have a saying in Spanish, something is mango bajito, low-hanging fruit. Born and raised in Miami, naturally, I have a ton of Cuban dichos, as they say, but it's low-hanging fruit to set aside money for taxes. Like that's a given. And I say that because you don't know how many realtors don't do that. You run into the end of the year, it's like, hey, here's your 1040, here's your tax return. You owe the government $8,500. What do you mean? How do I owe $8,500? Well, you got a 1099 and you have self-employment tax on your net income plus federal. I don't have money to pay that. Okay. But we can't reduce it because I want to buy a house. So my numbers need to look good, but I can't pay the tax. I'm like, well, which one is it? I have that conversation with realtors at least 20, 30 times a year, like a tax year. I've come to get used to it and expect it. I'm like, well, who am I going to talk to like this year? And what ends up happening is, to your point, nobody sets aside money. Nobody puts money to the side to cover their taxes. Now, again, I think at the end of this, I'm going to guarantee we're going to look back and say, well, how would you summarize the whole thing? It's like, stop thinking short term and start thinking long term, right? And when I say mango bajito, it's a given. It's like that's low hanging fruit. You should be setting aside money as a realtor. Why? Because you're getting a 1099. What that means is you're not an employee. Nobody's paying your taxes for you. If you went and got a job as, I don't know, a marketing advertising person working for Avanti and you were on their staff, you would get a W-2 and you agreed to a salary of $80K, right? You're not going to get paid $80,000. That's your gross salary, but you're going to get deducted from that 7.65% for Social Security and Medicare. And then based on how you filled out your employment documents, they're going to withhold money from your paycheck go toward what you potentially might owe the government at the end of the year. And that's why people get refunds. People get excited. Oh, I got a refund on my tax return. I must have a really smart CPA. No, you must have paid way too much to the government during the year. And now you're getting your money back. People miss that. People get excited. I hate when I get a refund because it means I gave the money an interest-free loan. I gave the government an interest-free loan. No, I wanted my money when I got paid. And so as a realtor, though, you rarely ever get a refund because nobody's taking money out for your taxes. So you get commissions of $100,000. You have expenses of 30, 40K. You're left over $60,000. You have to pay 15.3% in self-employment tax on that 60,000. Plus that 60K, not including, the rest of your world, if you're married, your spouse's salary and all that. Plus you've got to pay at least 12 to 22% on that 60K. So you're looking at a significant tax bill. Just in self-employment alone, that 60K, you've already got a $9,000 tax bill. I haven't even included 12%, which is another $6,000-7,000. $16,000 on 60K. I don't think anybody's thinking, let me put away $16,000 from all my commission. Nobody's thinking that. And so as a realtor, that's the huge difference between you and an employee, is nobody's thinking about you tax-wise. You've got to think about you tax-wise. And that's always the surprise people get when they get that 1099 as realtors. And that's generally any contractor, if they're not prepared and setting aside. And so those buckets, when we talk about setting aside money in buckets, you've got your tax bucket. And there's only two things certain in life. You're going to die and you're going to pay taxes. I'm sorry. It's part of life. But then in addition to that, you're going to get old. That's third thing, you're going to get old. And when you get old, are you going to continue? I don't know any 87, 90-year-old that can produce at the capacity they could produce when they were 40 or 50. I'm sorry. It's just maybe there's one crazy guy out there or girl out there, but generally speaking, you're not at the same level you were at when you were in your 40s or 30s or whatever age you're stepping into the real estate world. And so setting aside for retirement is vital, like vital. You're setting yourself up for failure as a realtor if you're not investing in your future life where you don't have to be dependent on the next deal. And I don't know, Jen, I don't know if you want to get into details or we can,
I would like to back up a little bit for new agents, because we've also had conversations about being either a PA or an LLC. So let's say a new agent were to come to you. What would be the first? So we know you're going to tell them to set money aside for taxes, but what are the first, let's say the top 3 things that you're going to tell a brand new agent that comes to you and say, I just got my license, I'm working with Avante Way Commercial. What do I need to do?
Numero uno, you need to set up for yourself an entity structure. People get, and again, just whoever listens to this, or don't get confused, PA, LLC, they're both essentially going to be the same thing. And what I mean by that is whether you set up an LLC for yourself or you set up what's called a professional association, a PA is a corporation. An LLC, if you have one owner, is what's called a disregarded entity. I can lose people just saying that. But regardless of which one you open, what's going to end up happening is your tax professional should be making what is called an S corporation election. And that is a tax-specific treatment that turns your entity, if it qualifies, which LLCs and PAs, practically any corporate entity where the owner there aren't any foreign owners, qualifies to become an S corporation. The benefit of an S corporation is that it's what's called a pass-through entity. That means that the income and expenses, once they're calculated and reported on the corporate tax return, flow through to the ultimate owner, and then the ultimate owner pays tax one time. If you set up a corporation for yourself and don't make an S corp election, you will get taxed twice, once at the corporate level and a second time when you take the money out. As a realtor, at minimum, you should be setting up for yourself some type of entity, whether LLC or PA. Don't get confused, right? LLCs are easier to set up and they're easier to maintain legally. So sometimes the recommendation is that. But PAs are what's naturally the thing that people set up when you think of an attorney, an accountant, a doctor, what typically a sole practitioner in those industries and any other licensed industry set up is a PA, a professional association. By default, a PA limits the scope of what you can do. You have to specify this is why this PA exists. And when you have a PA, you're saying to somebody, I'm a licensed individual and my license is tied to my business. But whether it's a PA or an LLC, they're both going to end up being the same thing for tax purposes. That's number one. Number two is get organized. I said this in a presentation we did recently. I'll say it forever until I die. I'll say it to every client. I'll say it to every paper pushing, receipt dropping person that steps into my office. Get organized. Keep track of your expenses. Stop guessing a year. I don't know what I ate yesterday. I don't know what I spent my money on last August. I couldn't tell you. Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you where my money went or what I had for lunch August 12th of 2025. I can't even think about the day. I don't even know if it was a Tuesday. I don't know. And in the same way, imagine as a business owner, because that's what you are, by the way. As a realtor, you're a business owner. You're a business owner. See yourself that way. Keeping track of expenses, because if you come to the end of the year, it's like, I can only conjure up 10 grand in expenses. And you really had 40 grand. And that's because you're not thinking about all the things you did, all the miles you drove, all the restaurants you went to, all the conversations you had, all the times you covered that client cost. The only way you're going to remember that is if that day you have a software running in the background that's connected to your bank account that is automatically downloading those transactions for you. And if nothing else, putting them in a platform where you sit down and you categorize them. And that's the best way to remember where your money is going. And then number three, be patient. And I know that sounds silly, but any realtor, any business owner will tell you these things take time. But if you don't set yourself up for success from the beginning by getting some type of corporate structure that really legitimizes your existence, sets you up properly for taxes, and also gives you that flexibility for setting up retirement. One, two, get organized, get yourself a good accounting software. I know this is boring to think about that, right? I saw a video the other day that says, do you ever want somebody not to talk to you and ask you more questions? When they ask you what you do, tell them you're an accountant. The conversation will die instantly. He's like, tell them you're a doctor and they'll show you a thing. Tell them you're an attorney and they'll say, talk about accounting, and everybody, oh yeah? All right. I know it sounds boring, but accounting is get organized. It sounds silly, but get organized. You won't realize how much you'll save yourself in taxes just by getting yourself organized. And three, be patient and be willing to grind, because this is going to be, any business you start, whether real estate or wherever, is going to be a grind. But if you're willing to put in the work, you're going to reap tremendous benefits if you're patient.
Yeah, I think you really have just covered so many important things. And one of the things that happens in our industry, especially if you do commercial real estate, for example, you've done business sales, you can understand the idea of that there are people that, and I have a client that always comes to mind because for 45 years they built this business, and it was him and his wife. But it was operated by him. He was at the center of it. And there was really no scaling of that business other than what was coming through his hands. And it was a very niche business. And it was wonderful. And he said, look, we've been doing this for 45 years. It's great. We put 2 kids through college. We have our house. It's great. What you really did is you built yourself a job. You really didn't build a business that is marketable, a business that you could actually sell. And ultimately, this person, after 45 years, the most that they could get out of selling that business was about 40 grand, right? Because it was an asset sale at that point, right? Because unless you have an operator in there, and unless you basically replace yourself, right? And a lot of what you mentioned, which I think is important, is that AI has the ability and technology has the ability to replace a lot of the things that you do so that it is structured. So I do appreciate you driving that point, which is very important. I'm wondering what have you seen success look like from the point of view of, I know you drive this point about organization, which I believe is really, where the key is. But how do people make this dump proof? How do they set themselves up in a way where it's automatic and where they don't have to think about it? Because I think a big part of success in our business is how good do you become at managing money? Because to your point, especially in commercial real estate, we just closed a deal that we spent a year working on. We've worked on leases that have taken 2 years because they're complex, and then the money doesn't always come in when you're expecting it. And there are extensions, delays, all those things. Managing that money keeps you in the game. But sometimes people, when you're going through that management, you increase your debt, you use credit cards, you do all these things. So I'm wondering, what does success look like? What have you seen where people have automated some of this so they don't have to think about it and they don't have to be in that seesaw that sometimes happens in this business?
To your point about AI, even as a CPA, that actually, when I heard Enrique say that actually got me immediately investigating. I ended up finding an AI specific to the tax and accounting industry that I've been using, and it has made a lot of menial tasks that I would spend hours doing a minute. Like I can churn out a ton of engagement letters or have it do an initial analysis of a tax situation that I then pick up right where it leaves off and do my own, and it shaves hours off of my time. And so I was watching there's this thing I follow on YouTube. It's a gentleman. He speaks to millionaires. And he just finds them on the street and he asks them for their advice. And he ran into a guy. As soon as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this guy, he's a bro, as they would say on the street. Oh, this guy's a bro. He said one of the most, I was like, wow, this guy just blew me out of the water. I judged the book by its cover and I was dead wrong. He said, you know what? The difference between the middle class and somebody who goes and makes themselves millions of dollars is they're not content staying in that 9-to-5 W-2 job. They see the industry they're in, they see the people around them doing something, and they say, okay, how can I do this for myself efficiently, faster, and better? And then they go and chase that. And I said, wow, I mean, I literally did that in my own. I've been accounting for I don't know how many years, looking around. I'm like, I could probably do this, but I wouldn't do it this way. I would mind you, I had no idea what I was doing. I still sometimes like, man, I feel like, but I'm still learning as a business owner. And when you see an industry and you see something and you say, how can I do this more efficiently? How can I better this? How can I offer service greater than the service I'm currently offering right now as an employee or whatever it is? That's the person that ends up knocking it out of the park. That's the person that ends up building for themselves something sellable. To your point, you don't know how many times I've run into that situation where somebody has that business. I'll never forget when I started this, a guy I admire dearly said to me, hey, make sure you're not building a job, you're building a business. And those words, you said it came back to me. Those words stuck with me. And it's taken me a while, but outsourcing some of the menial tasks to other individuals, involving my wife, as silly as it sounds, she quit her job and I involved her and instantly transformed my administrative side, creating workflows for menial things that happen over and over again. The same thing happens, tax returns start to finish. And that has dramatically reduced the amount of time I and we spend doing things. So taking advantage of AI, taking advantage of software, I think is vital. Identifying, okay, these tasks happen over and over and over again. How can I automate this? How can I turn this into an executable action in whatever AI platform? This email, look, how can I turn this email into a follow-up, into a reminder, make it part of my marketing? I mean, I'm thinking as a realtor, right? Because you're stuck in a deal for a year. You're not, okay, all my attention is going to this deal. I hope I get it. No, that's ridiculous. How can I turn every interaction into an actionable event that eventually turns into multiple deals? And we have incredible tools for that. I know Avanti Way has incredible tools for that. That's what Enrique and Andres are always harping on when you go to any one of those, is turning every interaction, whether it's at a party, it's at a whatever it is, a family member. Not that everybody's a business transaction, absolutely not. You don't want to come across that way. People sometimes, and to add to this, you don't ever want to come across as you're just in it for business transactions, because then you're not a personable, likable. Nobody wants to deal with somebody that only sees them as a dollar sign, right? So you have to strike that balance between I need to be just myself, but at the same time see opportunity from far away. And I never know when this guy sitting across from me I'm talking to is going to need a real estate deal. I want him to think of me. So I will subtly make mention of my industry, what I do, all that. That happens to me as a CPA. Sometimes business just happens because, oh, you're a CPA? Okay, cool. And I was nice the whole time. And then, oh man, we hate our CPA. He's a jerk. Oh, cool. I hope I'm not a jerk. And I've gotten clients like that. And the same is true as a realtor. Is you need to be able to turn conversations and interactions into transactions. And the only way you're going to do that, one person, one brain, is by taking advantage of software, taking advantage of AI, having a good, and now the word escapes me, Jennifer, what is that called? Client management. Oh my goodness. CRM. There it is. Having a good, and if you don't know what CRM means, welcome to the party. Here's your problem.
It's contact relationship manager.
Yeah.
But
Yes, you need to manage that contact relationship. You need to manage those well.
So I think you brought up a really good point, and this is something that took me a while. Again, I didn't like doing the bookkeeping. I didn't like it was always, it's more fun to be out there meeting the people and finding the deals and going to the neighborhoods. Like it's so much more fun. So then people wait and it's like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the quarter. I need to file my quarterly returns, and you're going through paperwork. The best thing that I did was hire a bookkeeper. That was the first thing that I did. I hired a bookkeeper because I knew it was something that I didn't like to do. I also knew that it was something that wasn't as valuable as me going out there and getting the deal. So I think the fact that you pinpointed, like your wife, right? Who can help you do the stuff that you don't like to do. That's part of your team too. Your team isn't just your transaction coordinator and your buyer, rep and your seller's rep, right? It's your entire team. And that's why I think having a CPA and having a bookkeeper and doing all that at the very, very beginning is the foundation for your success. So I love the fact that it's not just all systems and computers and programs. It's also the people who are going to do the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah. And as you say that, I'm thinking of a particular realtor. I won't mention him by name, but he works for Avanti. Awesome guy. And he has been super successful. And you know what I've noticed? He has an assistant. He takes advantage of systems. He's part of a team. He manages now a team. I think he even manages a branch. And it was because he took advantage of the people around him. And he's done well. He's one of the realtors I work with. He's one of the more successful ones. And I'm just, as you're saying that, I'm noticing, I'm like, oh yeah, he did this. Oh yeah, he did. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because now I get messages from his assistant, not from him. Well, okay. And he's doing really well for himself, as a realtor. And I watched him start from the floor. And now so taking advantage of the people around you, to your point, Jen, I think it's often I overlooked it. I'm saying this from my own experience. Even as you speak, I would rather be sitting here doing these all day than my stupid books. I'm just being honest. I love interacting with clients, and then I sit down and do the tax return. I'm like,
yeah,
can't I just keep talking to them and get paid for it? But now I have a team of people that do a lot of that. I end up coming in for the review portion, and it's increased my business 30-something% in the last year.
That's awesome. So we've talked about the beginning agent and how to set up. So now we're in, year 5, 6, we're doing really well. We've got a flow. I've got money in whatever retirement plan, whether it's a 401k or a self-directed IRA, whatever my accountant and I decided is the best tool for me. Now what? What's the next step for, again, making the money for retirement, future generations, etc.?
I'm going to quote a very famous philosopher and scholar. Her name is Dory. She's a blue and yellow tang fish. She would say, just keep swimming. Just keep. At a certain point in time, you get in the groove as a business owner. You just keep doing the things you've been doing. I had an old friend back where I used to work, and he would always say, do what you're supposed to do and be where you're supposed to be. If you do those two things 99.999% of the time, everything else that you're looking for is just going to happen. And so you continue to pursue opportunities. You don't satisfy, you're not, okay, I made it. Oof, okay, now I'm good. No, if you're at that stage, you're 5 years deep and you're continuing to produce, continue producing, continue being a student. I think one of the biggest failures people in general have is they become satisfied with what they already know, and they think this is the way. No, that's a way, and there's always another way, and there's nothing wrong with constantly trying to fine tune and find better ways to do the same thing. So for anybody in that season where I'm 5-6 years in, and man, I have built an incredible system, continue to build on that. Future-proof by involving the latest and greatest in technology, by reassessing the professionals you currently use. I mean, who's your go-to attorney? Who's your go-to, your closing agent? I hope it's Folio Title, because Nelson and Ricardo are 10 out of 10. I highly recommend. Even something as simple as sitting down. Some realtors do this sometimes. They'll ask me, hey, what's the latest and greatest thing happening in the tax and accounting world with real estate? Oh, did you hear about the Airbnb rule that came out last year in July of 2025? Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I can sell on that. Speak to your title agent. Hey, just 5-10 minutes of your time. Anything new that I need to know about, anything. When that law changed with the whole commission thing, I hope that every realtor was, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, welcome to the party. Did you have a conversation with a trusted closing agent you've done transactions with? Do you have access to a real estate attorney? Did you attend CPEs, which we call them continued education, and learn about because it's a constant learning process. And so if you find yourself in that middle arena where you're 5-6 years, and this sounds boring, and like I tell people, especially with finances, if it sounds boring, it's probably really good for your wallet. If it sounds super fun, it's probably terrible for your wallet. Continue investing in your 401k, your self-directed IRA, which, I mean, by the way, if you would have invested last year some of your money in the market, you would have earned on average anywhere between 19 and 22% last year. Right now, this year, I'm way ahead in the market. Same thing with real estate. The way that rentals are going right now, if you invested in your self-directed IRA and you invested and you have an investment in property that's generating for you rental activity, not only is it being generated tax-free for your future benefit, but you're getting a significant return on your investment. And so continuing to build on those things. And the best part, this is my favorite. There's a gentleman, he's very, very, very conservative. Not for everybody, but I love him. His name is Dave Ramsey. And he talks about, I love Dave. I love his rants on YouTube.
Yeah. He is a ranter.
Yes, but he'll tell you, once you make it to where you're a millionaire, getting to 2 million happens faster. You'll find this even in investing. Once you get your first, it takes forever to get to that first big moment, but then you'll find all the other moments, start to happen a lot faster. Money grows faster when there's more of it. And so if you find yourself in that 5-6 year mark and, okay, I'm sitting on a pot of investment, man, continue to double down on that, because time, especially in the investment world, time is your absolute best friend. In real estate and in stock or market investing, time is your absolute best friend. The longer you've sat and the more that you've put into it, the faster things tend to grow. So if you're in that 5-6 year mark, continue doing, but don't become stagnant in, oh, I'm satisfied with where my systems are. I am satisfied with no, do not be satisfied with where your knowledge base is and where your systems or your processes are. Always continue fine-tuning them.
So with real estate, as a real estate professional, right, we get certain tax benefits if we invest in property, right? And then you briefly touched on owning real estate in a self-directed, like Roth IRA, where it grows tax-free and the money comes out tax-free. Can you talk a little bit about, maybe not so much which is better, because I think they're both good vehicles, but can you talk a little bit about each one of those items in terms of, like, how would somebody start investing? Do I start as a real estate professional and buy whatever it is that I want to buy and take the depreciation and all of that kind of stuff? Or is it better for me to put it in something that I can't touch for a long time, or do both?
Yes.
Okay, so can you describe how, I figured you would say that. I love that. Like, the answer is yes. So can you just define how both of those benefits work?
Sure. So on the one hand, the way that I would split investing, right, is there is the taxable investing and there's the non-taxable or deferred taxable investing, right? The taxable investing is the one that a lot of people think of, which is, I just bought a property, I put it under the name of an LLC, and now I'm renting it. And I'm generating rental income, and I am expensing all my expenses, and I'm cash flowing. I'm awesome. This is great. The big benefit to that is I can take a loan out on the equity in the future. A lot of new loan products are out such that they'll lend to you based on how it cash flows and what it generates in rental revenue. So you've got a lot of avenues as an investor to invest in property. The downside to that is any earnings you make from it are taxable the day you make them, right? The beautiful part of investing in real estate, people often overlook, is depreciation. Depreciation, to keep it real simple, is, hey, I'm using this asset. I can't write off my $700,000 piece of real estate. I can't, because it has a future benefit. So what does depreciation do? Well, if it's commercial real estate, it's good for 40 years, according to the IRS. If it's residential real estate, it's good for 27 and a half years, according to the IRS. And what that means is I get an annual expense for the amount I've invested in real estate divided by one of those two numbers, depending on what it is. What does that mean? That's an expense on my books. That is not an expense in my pocket. And so I could make $30,000 a year, which is pretty good return on investment in a residential real estate. But depending on how much I paid for it and depending on what my CapEx was, not have any tax because of depreciation, right? And so that's a beautiful thing. In addition to that, that thing is appreciating in value. And one day I can sell that property And because I sell it, it's a long-term investment. I am now going to pay a capital gain tax on it, which is a reduced preferential tax rate versus what I'd pay on, say, a W-2, interest, or certain dividends, right? Versus I can invest in a brokerage account, which is still great. People make money there too. Well, just because we're talking about real estate doesn't anybody who's married, no, I only do one thing.
Right.
That's not the person you should ever listen to. It's just like at the gym. I'm not married to squats. One day I might have to do a different exercise because I'm getting older, and I turned 40 this year. And now I can't do. Yeah, that's what they keep telling me, but I don't feel like a baby. I don't wake up feeling like a baby anymore. But you can't be married to this one strategy and nothing else. No, you invest in a brokerage account. Those stocks are going to generate for you capital gains. They're going to generate for you dividends. They're going to generate for you interest, all of it taxable, right? You'll pay tax on it today versus an IRA or a 401k or a Roth IRA, right? We get tripped up by the words. Let's just call it future retirement investing, right? The benefit to that is that in the future, when I take out the earnings, depending on the type of account, which a Roth is usually the way most people will go nowadays. A Roth means I pay tax when I put money into it today, but I don't pay any tax on it tomorrow when I take money out, which means I don't pay tax on what I put in and I don't pay tax on what it made me. The downside to that is I can't necessarily touch it until a certain age, right? And so the recommendation always, and see, now you start to kind of see why it's so important. You alluded to it earlier, buckets. It's different buckets. I have my cash bucket, which is good for taxes and emergencies. I have my investment bucket, which I can take out and pay tax on today. And then I have my retirement bucket, which I can take out tomorrow and maybe not pay tax depending on how I structure myself. As an individual, you want to be, okay, I need to set aside 10 to 15% for taxes and all that. I need to set aside, I would want to set aside 10% for call it savings, but I wouldn't put savings. I wouldn't call it savings. At that point, you're actively investing in today's market. And then I would set aside something that is what would be my retirement. I'm not touching this for whenever I decide to retire. You scale it based on how quickly you need it, right? I'm not touching it for a very long time without penalty. So that's that. I can touch it and I might pay tax, but I can still touch it. It takes a lot less effort than this bucket. And then there's the I need to touch it without any issue and I need it tomorrow bucket. And that really should be your buckets as any professional, not just, I mean, you could go to so many different schools of thought. They split it up so many different ways, but really those are your buckets. This should be your emergency, what they would call your emergency fund, cash, or you're saving it for I want to buy this thing and I need this cash to buy this thing. So I need it readily available. I don't need this readily available, but it can be readily available. If I need it in a week, I can sell stock. I can sell, real estate is a little harder to sell. So you should be progressively like from very easy to touch to very difficult to touch. And you should have different buckets as a professional along the way. Where you're putting money in all these buckets. Then you say to me, well, Chris, what about I want to travel bucket? What about it? It can be at the beginning, right? In this little bucket that I want to travel. There's nothing wrong with traveling. Just don't do it when you're going, check to check, because what are you gonna do? That's why these buckets are vital. Again, if it's boring, it's probably really good for your wallet.
Well, and to your point with the travel bucket, I love that where people can put stuff aside. So you talked about the emergency bucket. Okay, well, maybe once my emergency bucket is there and I've started my investment bucket, then the additional goes into the travel bucket. Or you said real estate is hard to sell. Yes, it's hard to sell, but it's very easy to borrow against, right? Mm-hmm. So you can do a cash out refi. You can take out a home equity line of credit if you need it to do improvements. We did several cash out refis on our properties to help pay for kids' college, right? So yes, it's, I think that's something that as real estate professionals, we need to understand. And even if you're not a real estate professional and you're investing in real estate, that yes, it is an illiquid asset in the sense of you might not want to sell it or it might take longer to sell, but there are ways to cash out. And the other thing that you mentioned is when you buy an investment property property and it's cash flowing, instead of using the money from your work to do the fun stuff in the travel, you use the money that you've invested. You use the money that that investment makes to do the fun stuff in the travel, right? So that money is always growing.
Yeah, and this is just speaking in general. And now I'm just speaking, to people. Like, we spend so much time on social media. Do not chase. Oh, I've got to go to Italy. My friend went there. You have no idea how they went there. Maybe they got there on credit cards and now they're drowning in debt. Like, if you really are serious about this, going back to Dave Ramsey, he has a quote. I love it. Live like no one else today so that later on you can live like no one else. So you might look a little weird with your buckets, right? People be like, what? How could you? But that's so that not too long from now, people are like, oh, wow, you went here, you went here, you went here. Yeah. And funded by this property and this investment and this thing and this thing. And so if you're going to be responsible with your business, because let's call it what it is, with your business, it will take some sacrifice today. And I think all of us can attest to that. The both of you, myself, there were years where my trip was at Marco Island, and that was where I went. And it was a weekend, but I was building something. I just got back from Hawaii. I could not have gone to Hawaii 12 years ago. I could have, but it would have been a financial stretch. Today, by the grace of God, it was not. And that is because things were built up, things were put in place, and it took time to get to this point.
I think that's super important. And also the fact that you do have a PA or an LLC. If you're at the beginning of your career, get creative with your travel. So we go to a lot of conferences, right? Because to your point, we're always learning. So if we know that there's a conference somewhere and it's like, oh, this year it happens to be in, I don't know, Taos, New Mexico, and I've never been to Taos, New Mexico. Okay, it's going to be an expense that I have to take out of my business. And yes, but I can tag on a certain number of days from vacation. You can't write off the vacation part, right? But you can write off the portion that was the conference, that was the travel, that was all of that, and you can tie it in that way. So we're not saying that everything that you have to do is work to put money away in all these buckets and not have fun, but there are ways to be creative legally where you're not going to get audited. And if you have a CPA like Chris, who understands real estate, who understands building a business, I think it's a great resource. Before we leave real quick, I just wanted to point out, because we did talk about creating PAs and LLCs, and I just want to let you know, if you have a real estate license in the state of Florida, your PA and LLC name needs to be the name of your license. So if you're Fernando Arencibia Jr. the third PA, that's your PA, right? Because his license is underneath that. If I'm Jennifer F. Woolman, my LLC is Jennifer F. Woolman LLC. We've seen a lot of agents get excited and they're like, I am the best real estate person ever, LLC. And then we're like, you can't register that with DBPR, and your LLC or PA, if you're going to be accepting commissions through there, has to be filed with the DBPR. So I just wanted to clarify that, because people who listen and don't call you or don't call us and just go out and do it on their own, we want to make sure they don't do it wrong and then come back and go like, they didn't give us the right information.
Amen. Thank you for saying that. I cannot stress that enough. Yes. If it says junior, you need to put junior. If it says senior, and if that there's a realtor that happened to, I'm like, I told you exact. Now, if you want to do a DBA within reasonable bounds, you can. There are rules for DBAs, and she was a DBA doing business as. So if you want to brand yourself in the luxury arena, let's say, because there's something that, about Christopher A. Sierra, PA, that doesn't roll off the tongue when I'm in a conversation, but you want to brand yourself with a particular phrase in the luxury world, so long as it meets the standards that are specific to the industry. And I know that your broker should be up to date on what you can, and always check in with them before you open up some wacky thing. You can with a DBA, but your PA, because remember, DBA is not a company. It's just it's a recognized name of a company. Coca-Cola is not the name of the company. that is Coke. That's their DBA. And it happens to also be their trademark registered and all that, right? So don't be so like, oh, my full name. You can do a DBA and brand yourself differently if that's what you want to do.
Awesome. So in closing, is there anything that you want to share that we should have asked that we didn't for either a new or close to retiring agent? And then finally, if you can give us, you mentioned organization. Can you mention any organizational tools for either mileage or paperwork or accounting or whatever that you've seen that you think is user friendly?
Yeah, just speaking generally, I cannot stress enough how I have seen, especially in real estate, I have seen so many realtors who are, Fernando, they're just disorganized. I cannot tell you. It sounds stupid and simple. You say, this guy is saying basics. Sometimes the basics are our best friends. And so I can't stress enough how important it is to be organized. I can't. From now, oh, Chris, I only have 2 transactions a year and maybe it doesn't matter. You need to get organized now. If you're not going to be faithful with 2 transactions a year and 10 expenses a month, you're not going to be faithful with 200 transactions a year and 2,000 expenses. So you need to, from now, be organized. And to that point, QuickBooks, that's like the accounting standard, right? QuickBooks is fantastic. A less expensive one, Xero, XERO. By the way, I don't make money from any of them. XERO is another one that you can download and you can use. There's one more, and now I can't remember the name of the software to save my life, but there are dozens of different accounting software. All you want to look for is a relatively inexpensive one. It'll $5 a month, right? What's a cup of coffee at Starbucks? Skip one Starbucks cup of coffee a month. And I know you're getting Starbucks, but whoever I'm talking about, well, come on. I at least get 1 cup of coffee a month from Starbucks.
Fernando.
Fernando.
Why am I catching straight?
Jennifer just took this. She got in the bus and she's like, Fernando.
Exactly.
But in all fairness,
it comes out of my cash bucket. I just want to let you know.
And he brings me one, so I should take that back.
Okay, there you go. So $5 a month. Make sure that it has software, that secure software. Nowadays, most of these companies use what's called Plaid, which is a secure connecting software that connects to your bank account. Yes, by the way, realtor, get a separate bank account for your transactions. Get a separate credit card for your expenses. Connect those 2 accounts to your accounting software. If your accounting software cannot connect to your bank account, that is not your accounting software. These are not the accounting softwares you are looking for. Find the one that can connect to your bank account. Automatically download your transactions. Spoiler alert, AI does a great job of guessing what's what and giving you opportunity to correct and teach it so that it continues to categorize things properly, so that you're reviewing what it's thinking, not one by one every single transaction. And so get a software that does that and get organized. And to that realtor that's been in the business for a long time, I congratulate you. I would encourage you to not just think about retirement, but think about how you can give back to your real estate community. I know it sounds silly, but there is something about coming back. And there's something now about speaking to a CPA that's just starting. I love talking. I met one, and I'll call him every now and again. Hey, how you doing? Hey, because when I started, I didn't have a CPA that I could just call and say, hey, so what happens when, no, I had to go off what I learned from my old boss, and if you're in that arena, give back, right? Be part of a team, become a mentor, those things, because even for it not only will it add value to yourself, your life personally, but it'll also, believe it or not, it'll add value to your business, because you don't know how that person that you're pouring out into, they might become part of your team and help propel in the back end of your career more commission, more collection, more activity. And so, those things that come immediately to mind, Thank you guys both again for this. This has been a lot of fun. I like this style this is my style. So everybody knows we didn't have a script. I wasn't given anything.
That's right.
I was just told this is the name of the podcast. Jump in. And I'm like, okie dokie. I love this. This is much more. I like this a lot. I love this a lot. It was a pleasure being here with you both.
Absolutely, Chris. And thank you so much for joining us, for pulling up a chair, as we say to all of our audience as well, and to be here today in between two chairs. Jennifer always does a very great job of sharing links to your website and contacts in the show notes. So that'll be there as well for anybody who wants to reach out to Chris and have a conversation about how boring things that you do consistently can lead to the extraordinary life that you want to build for yourself and your family.
The non-boring life you want.
That's right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you so much. And thank you for playing. We are totally freeform here. Fernando and I never know the topic. We never know what each other's going to ask. We never do questions ahead of time, which makes it very unnerving for people who are planners and preparers. But you did amazing, and we love the freeform and a ton of knowledge. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Again, it was a pleasure. You both are awesome. And Fernando, stop drinking Starbucks coffee, man.
I don't know about that. I need my caffeine one way or the other. So,
Amen.
If it's not La Ventanita, it's a drive-through Starbucks. So, yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. For Jennifer and I, bye.
Ciao.